All right, Doston, welcome back to Crypto Brain. Now imagine this for a moment. What if the biggest story surrounding XRP is not the price, not the chart, and not even the next market rally? What if the real story is the infrastructure quietly being built behind the scenes, while most investors remain focused on short-term movements? Over the past few days, social media has been flooded with discussions surrounding XRP, and a phrase that has captured the attention of investors around the world. Many people are talking about the idea that major institutions could be preparing for the next phase of blockchain adoption. And naturally, whenever names such as Blackrock enter the conversation, the crypto community pays attention. But before we get carried away by headlines, let's focus on something far more important. The question is not whether XRP goes up tomorrow. The question is whether the foundation being built today could support the financial systems of tomorrow. Because history has shown us something fascinating. By the time the average investor notices a major shift, the groundwork has often been under construction for years. Think about the internet. Think about smartphones. Think about artificial intelligence. The biggest opportunities were not obvious when they first appeared. Most people only recognized them after adoption had already begun. And this is precisely why many XRP supporters are paying close attention to what is happening on the XRP ledger today. While retail traders continue refreshing price charts every few minutes, developers and infrastructure builders are working on something entirely different. They are focused on liquidity, efficiency, settlement speed, tokenization, institutional-grade financial tools, stablecoin infrastructure, and cross-border payment systems. These may not sound exciting at first glance, but in the financial world, infrastructure is everything. A modern city cannot function without roads. The internet cannot function without servers. And financial networks can operate efficiently without liquidity and settlement systems. This is where the conversation becomes extremely interesting. One of the most discussed developments within the XRP ecosystem has been the evolution of liquidity infrastructure and technologies designed to improve trading efficiency. For years, critics argued that blockchain networks were simply not ready to handle institutional-scale financial activity. Large transactions could face slippage. Liquidity could become fragmented. Pricing could become unstable during periods of heavy activity. These are not minor issues. For a retail investor moving a few £100, they may not matter much. For institutions moving billions of dollars, they matter enormously. And this is why supporters believe that the latest developments on the XRP ledger deserve attention. The goal is not simply to create another cryptocurrency. The goal is to create infrastructure capable of supporting real financial activity. Now ask yourself this. If a global asset manager, a major bank, or a multinational payment provider wanted to move value across borders 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, what would they require? They would require speed. They would require reliability. They would require low transaction costs. Most importantly, they would require security. Security remains one of the biggest concerns throughout the blockchain industry. Every year, investors witness stories involving exploits, hacks, vulnerabilities, and lost funds. Whenever billions of dollars are involved, security becomes non-negotiable. This is one reason why many supporters argue that the XRP ledger's focused architecture could offer advantages in certain financial use cases. The idea is straightforward. The smaller and more specialized the system, the easier it can be to analyze, monitor, and secure. That does not mean any network is perfect. It simply means that institutions often prefer predictable environments when large amounts of capital are involved. And that brings us to another important point. Adoption never happens overnight. Many investors enter the crypto market expecting immediate results. They see a new development announced and assume prices should instantly explode higher. Real-world finance does not work that way. Large institutions move carefully. They conduct research. They test systems. They evaluate risks. They monitor regulatory developments. And only then do they make decisions. This process can take months or even years. However, when infrastructure improvements continue to accumulate over time, they can gradually create the conditions necessary for broader adoption. That is the long-term thesis many XRP supporters continue to discuss. Not a quick pump, not a short-term headline, but a future in which blockchain technology becomes integrated into financial systems that already process trillions of dollars every year. Now imagine a scenario where even a small percentage of global financial activity eventually migrates onto blockchain-based rails. We are not talking about replacing the entire financial system overnight. We are talking about incremental adoption, one institution at a time, one corridor at a time, one payment network at a time. Even small percentages of enormous markets can represent significant volumes. And this is why discussions surrounding utility remain so important, because utility creates demand. Demand attracts liquidity, and liquidity attracts participation. That cycle is what many investors believe could eventually define the next phase of blockchain adoption. Of course, there are still challenges ahead. Regulation remains an important factor. Competition remains intense. Technology continues to evolve rapidly. No outcome is guaranteed. And anyone claiming certainty about the future is usually oversimplifying a very complex situation. However, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The conversation surrounding XRP is evolving. Years ago, the discussion focused almost entirely on price. Today, more people are talking about infrastructure, tokenization, settlement systems, liquidity solutions, and institutional participation. Whether that ultimately translates into large-scale adoption remains to be seen. But the direction of the conversation itself is worth paying attention to, because sometimes the biggest clues about the future are not found in price charts. They are found in the foundations being built beneath them. And that is exactly why investors around the world continue watching the XRP ecosystem so closely. The next chapter may not be written by speculation alone. It may be written by utility. And if that happens, the developments taking place today could look very different when viewed through the lens of history several years from now. If you enjoyed this analysis, and you want more deep dives into XRP, crypto adoption, institutional finance, and the future of blockchain technology, make sure you subscribe to Crypto Brain. Most people wait for headlines before they start paying attention. The goal of this channel is to help you understand the story before it becomes obvious. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah.